Now, we need to remember something very important. The central bank, the deep state, the elite, the establishment, they're just not going to give. They're going to fight back any way they possibly can, even if it's dirty. They've done it before, and they'll always do this. And we already see that they're getting nervous and afraid. They're getting worried because the movement is moving a lot faster than they ever thought. They never thought this many people would wake up at one time. They thought they'd be able to keep these people sleeping. But it's too late. Remember, this is their worst fear come true. Now, May, she continually tries to pass her Brexit deal out in the UK. She's just taken the same exact deal and she's repackaging it and saying it's a new deal. Well, they realize what she's doing. And her new deal is completely dead on arrival. Now, Theresa May is facing pressure to abandon her Brexit deal and quit. Nigel Farage's Brexit Party is on a stunning roll. That's what happens when you take a firm position the public favors. And you can see that May is not listening to what the people want. She's listening to the EU. She's listening to the elite, to the establishment. And this is going to be her downfall. In the end, when the people wake up and the people start to scream and yell and tell you what they want, the government people better start listening or they're going to be out of a job. Now, long-term Eurosceptic and former president of the Czech Republic, Václav Klaus, sums things up very well. As I look at it from Prague, the British main political parties totally failed and betrayed and abandoned the British citizens, their own voters. It had, however, one positive side effect. By behaving in this way, they probably and unwillingly created the Brexit Party. Dear Brexit friends, you should, in the forthcoming elections, give the whole rest of Europe a good example. Many Europeans need it, and many are waiting for it. Don't disappoint them. Now, as we know, Farage's Brexit Party, it has gained in popularity. And the powers out there, the central bank, the deep state, the elite, the establishment, they are trying to rip his party apart. Listen to what Nigel Farage has to say.
But it gets even worse than being attacked in a very coordinated plan between Gordon Brown and media organisations this morning, because this afternoon the Electoral Commission popped their head up. We went to the Electoral Commission last week to show them the checks and methods that we have in place to make sure that donations to this party are legal and absolutely in line with the law. They gave us a clean bill of health. And one of our lawyers asked them, would they please put that in writing, which they didn't do. And so what happens on the same day? When the early morning headlines on the Beeb are that Gordon Brown will give this speech, Brown accuses us of potential impropriety, and then at 1:52, a press release from that organ of government and the state, the Electoral Commission, saying they're going in tomorrow to the Brexit Party's offices to investigate. They are doing so on the basis of absolutely no evidence at all. They are doing so in an act of bad faith against what they told us to our faces last week. They are directly politically interfering in a national election in this country. It's a disgrace.
Now, this is what happens when the central bank, the elite, the establishment, the deep state, this is what happens when the people are a threat to their very existence. They try to destroy the parties or whatever movement there is. And they use sneaky, underhanded methods. And they create vents. They do many different things. But you can see that the people, they are now a threat to the establishment. And this is spreading around the world. Now, we come to find out that there are 5 banks that have been brought up on charges, and the EU is fining them. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Traders at RBS, Barclays, Citi, JP Morgan, and MUFG, they use chat rooms to rig Forex spot trading. Barclays, Citigroup, Royal Bank of Scotland, JP Morgan, and Japan's MUFG have been fined more than 1 billion euros by the EU's competition watchdog by rigging the multi-trillion-dollar foreign exchange market after the last financial crash. Citigroup was hit with the biggest fine, 311 million euros, followed by RBS at 249, JP Morgan at 229, Barclays at 210, MUFG at 70. Now, UBS also participated but avoided a 285 million euro fine, as it was the first to alert the EU to the cartels. Now, again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. These are just traders within these banks that are manipulating one part of the economy. Think about what the central banks do. Think about how they manipulate the economy. Talking about the central bank economy, it is completely imploding on itself. We see JCPenney's, Kohl's, and many other stores. They're saying that sales are completely down. Now, of course, they're blaming this on the tariffs. Tariffs haven't even really taken effect. But, of course, what they're saying is that, oh, it has to do with the tariffs. No, it doesn't. The retail apocalypse was happening way before the tariffs. And what is happening here is that the entire central bank system, it is imploding right in front of our faces. And they're trying to use tariffs and what Trump is doing as the cover story. This is going to fail because they only have this for a specific period of time, because once he removes the tariffs, they can't use it anymore. And this is going to be their biggest downfall. Now, Chuck Grassley is now calling on Congress to pass the USMCA, and he tweeted out the following: "Thanks to President Trump and Lighthouser and Canada, Mexico for working to get to this point now. It's time for Congress to do its job and pass USMCA this year. The trade deal is good for the manufacturing, AG services tech." He also tweeted out, "Another trade breakthrough today with Japan lifting restrictions on U.S. beef products. U.S. beef into Japan has been one of the most difficult trade issues U.S. has dealt with over 2 decades. It's only second to Europe's refusal to take GMO grains. Japan market will really help Iowa cattlemen." And you can see what's happening here is they're opening up trade, creating trade deals with all these different countries. And this has to be done. We've said this many times before. Because once the petrodollar system completely disappears, we need to have trade already established. And this is what Trump and his administration are doing right now. Now, we've said this many times before. Whoever controls the narrative of the economy is going to control pretty much everything. Right now, Trump has complete and utter control of the narrative. But the mainstream media, they're trying to make a case that when the economy is this strong, the Fed is worrying because it's just too strong. And we can see coming out of the New York Times, there's an article that says the economy is strong and inflation is low. That's what worries the Fed. So the American job market is booming and the economy is strong, but the combination is not raising prices the way it used to. So in this article, they're complaining that the economy is too strong and we're not seeing the inflation and prices aren't rising. So let's go back to the Federal Reserve's dual mandate. Since 1977, the Federal Reserve has operated under a mandate from Congress to promote effectively the goals of maximum employment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. Okay, so basically, the Fed is supposed to have really zero inflation, maximum employment, and since there's really no inflation, we don't see prices moving up. So the article here is completely the opposite of what the mandate of the Fed is. What they're really doing here is they're trying to make a case of why the economy is too good. And if it's this good, the Fed is worried. And if the Fed is worried, it means that Trump is making the economy look too good. They're trying to figure out a way to make it seem like Trump, because he made the economy so great, that he's going to ruin the economy. Now, it goes on to say, the Fed, for its part, is wrestling with how to respond to persistently low inflation amid what happens to be the weakening of a foundational economic relationship. Unemployment is at its lowest level since 1969, which should spur higher wages as companies compete for workers. Well, remember, the central bank system is at the end stage. When the central bank went onto the fiat system, off the gold standard back in the 70s, what happened? We saw a massive amount of inflation. Why? Because they started to create currency and it wasn't pegged to anything anymore. So if you had more and more dollars in the economy, you're going to see prices move up. Housing, cars, wages, and everything else. You're going to see interest rates rise during this period. When you're at the end stage of the central bank system, what do you see? Interest rates that have to continually be dropped, wages declining, a huge amount of debt, not enough tax receipts coming into the government to pay the interest off. But with this article, they're trying to make it seem like the Fed is now worrying because the economy is too good, which is absolutely ridiculous. This argument is not going to win. They're trying, but it will not win because Trump has complete and utter control of the economy. He has the magic wand. He knows how to control their manipulation algorithms that they use to control the stock market. He knows how to control the unemployment numbers, the GDP numbers. Again, he's using the weapons against them. And the only thing they have right now is the tariffs. And they're continually saying the tariffs are going to be a problem. And retail stores are saying, yes, tariffs are going to hurt our business. Now they're expecting their products to go from $20 up to $3,000? I mean, really, if you went into a store and the product was $20 and now it's $21, is anyone going to say, hey, I can't afford this anymore? No, of course not. Will we even see a rise in the price of the item? Well, we have been seeing it, haven't we? Go back in time. There's been no tariffs. Why have prices on items continually gone up and up and up? Look at food. Look at fuel. Look at the cost of college, health insurance, you name it. Housing. They've gone all up. And guess what? There's been no tariffs. Anyone complain? Well, people do complain. But they're used to it already. And they're really not going to notice a difference, even if there is a difference, which I'm not too sure there's going to be one. But of course, the mainstream media is pushing the idea that there's going to be, and it's going to hurt the consumers. The consumers are already hurt. Why? Because of the central bank system. We've been tracking this for a very long time. Go back 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. The retail apocalypse, that has been building going way back in time. This is nothing new, and it has nothing to do with online. Because now we're seeing it all over the place. It has nothing to do with that. First, they used the weather. Well, the stores aren't doing well because of the weather. And then during the summer, the stores weren't doing well. During the fall, the stores weren't doing well. During the holiday season, the stores weren't doing well. So they couldn't use the weather. And they said everything's moving to online. That's why business is not good. Well, guess what? Online is not doing fantastic either. Now they have to say it's the tariffs. Has nothing to do with any of this. It has to do with the central bank system. Now, Trump, he's trying to work out a deal with China. Now, he doesn't care how long the trade talks take. He would like to make a deal, but again, remember, he's restructuring the entire economic system. And I do believe he's doing this with the help of Xi Jinping and Putin and many other countries. And the Chinese state-run media, they've been deploying propaganda to shift public opinion toward the U.S. as a direct threat. Now, Trump was fully prepared for this outcome. Trump is in no hurry to continue the trade discussions because he has mentally moved into the punishment phase of his geopolitical reset. The entire system of global trade and supply chain economics has entered a state of flux. This is being done on purpose. Trump is changing everything. Through change, you're going to have speed bumps. Through change, things are going to seem a little messed up. Think about working out. When you begin to work out, and someone who hasn't worked out for a very long time, what does your body do? It reacts. Many people throw up. Many people, their arms, their legs, everything is sore. Why? Because you're going through a change. The same thing with the economy. And what he is doing, he's preparing, and not just him. I believe it's many countries around the world. They're preparing the entire economic system for something brand new. So within this dynamic, there are opportunities for national economies to benefit if they position themselves with a nationalistic free trade alliance being assembled by Trump, Secretary Ross, and Lighthizer. However, to benefit, the political leaders of those nations will have to adjust their outlook. There are indications with recent political shifts like Poland, Hungary, Italy, Brazil, and Australia, soon UK, that are completely aware that there is change coming, and they're going to get prepared for this economic restructuring of the global economy. The whole system's about to change. And we're getting word that U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, he's ready to open new talks with China if the two sides can proceed on the basis of the previous negotiations. So they're preparing to renegotiate once again. Remember, Trump is very patient. He's been planning this for a very long time. I'm not just saying him himself. There's many people behind this. But this has been planned from the very beginning. And they want to do it right. And they're not going to rush into something that isn't right. What they are doing, and now other countries are catching on because leadership is changing, they're preparing to change the world economy. They're preparing to change everything and move away from the central bank globalist system. That is the plan. And guess what? The elite, the establishment, they know that this is happening. And this is threatening their world business. And they don't like it. But guess what? Patriots are in control.